This is Thursday, November 8th. We're going to get into talking about a bunch of idioms because they're everywhere. No, idiots, although those are everywhere too. Whole different. And some of my idiots are idioms, but that's a whole different thing. See from there, blah, 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 blah. Halfway finished with your book report book in about 2 weeks, which is around the time of Thanksgiving. So your Thanksgiving, you're going to celebrate the thanks by being halfway done with your book. And some of you guys will be even more done than that. And we also have a can drive for B points if you would like to join that. That starts next week on Monday. I know it goes through all of next week. I think it goes all the way up to, what do you call that day? Thanksgiving. And then you can bring in a can. It gets you 3 B points up to a maximum of 15. And we have a Socratic poetry quiz tomorrow, so make sure you're ready for that. And I'll send out another video later today for the reviewy thing for that. Enough of that boring stuff. Those of you who are playing the home game, sorry, I just bullied a kid with this pencil. Take that. There is a thing you can find on my website. It looks something like this, and that's what we're going to be talking about. It's this idiom sheet. On the back side of it, which I've not uploaded yet because I just created it this morning, you're going to find this thing, which is the notes we're going to be getting through first. So what we're going to do is take a look at the back side of it, where it says idiom notes, the back side, and then we're going to go through those. This is what's going to help you out as we go through and do things. Because as we go through idioms, you're going to want to be able to refer to these things to make your life much easier, so you can sort of jot stuff down. I would say at the very least, we're going to do the top left-hand corner one. Beyond that, it's up to you. The more you do, the more it just makes your life easier in the future. Just like the more you have your iPad out now, the more points I can charge you for not being able to follow directions. It's along those same lines, but a little bit different. One's idioms and one's an idiot. So now let's get into idioms and harassing kids from there. First off, idioms are things that you're familiar with. You just don't realize you're familiar with them. It's technically, the definition is it's a phrase with 2 meanings, a literal meaning and a figurative meaning. Like when I say, if you keep getting your iPad out, no, it's this one. If you keep reading your book while I'm trying to read my book, you are going to be driving me up a wall. That's an example of an idiom where it has 2 meanings. If I say that you're doing something is driving, by the way, right now I'm buying you time because you're writing down that definition. For those of you who are a little bit slower right now. Your slowness is driving me up a wall. See that little bonding. If I were to say that, what does driving me up a wall mean?
You get a car and you drive up a wall.
Nice one, that you're making me crazy. If you are new to English and you are unfamiliar with how our language works, that's a much more confusing statement. When I say that you are constantly talking or that your reading is driving me up a wall, you're going to go, oh, Mr. Brovicast, why does them reading a book make you want to get in a vehicle and go to the outside of a building? That makes no sense. And so that's the 2 different meanings. You're going to have, one of them is the figurative meaning, one of them is the literal meaning. So there are phrases that we start using that we know what they mean, but people new to the language are going to be completely confused about what they mean. The figurative meaning is going to be the common definition. It is what we know this thing to mean. So figurative, the common definition, what we know the phrase to mean. So if you're like sitting there jumping up and down in class, wiggling all over the place, I'm like, whoa, settle down. You have ants in your pants or something? Hopefully you know what ants in your pants means. If not, that's probably going to be a really confusing and creepy phrase. Why would I keep them in my pants? I just put them in my pockets. And so that's where the whole figurative is what we know it to mean. Literal is the word-for-word definition of the phrase. Oftentimes, this will be the funny definition. This is where we found out when we were drawing in our book, the whole time that Mr. Brovicast was going over stuff, we're going to find out that we're writing the notes on the back side, not the front side, where everyone else would be, thus making things much easier, so we would not have to be harassed out loud. Mr. Brovicast, you're so good at harassing kids without saying names. I know. What's important is that I know who I'm harassing, and the person I'm harassing knows who I'm harassing. The rest of you just get the joy of knowing there's some kid crying on the inside.
Who is it? Raise your hand.
Yeah, like buttery ice cream. Well, it doesn't do any good when you rat them out. It was a bonding thing between me and special child. Alright, so now you are going to... whispering away my points.
There's a fly on my paper.
I'm not sure what that idiom means. I'm not familiar with that one.
Are you foreign language then?
A little bit, just on the inside. So now that you have these, we're going to practice doing a couple together, and hopefully you'll be smart enough to go on from there. So this is getting ready to disappear, but it's okay. It'll pop up in different versions over like the next couple minutes. So have faith for those of you who are a little slower, catching back up to the rest of us. Our practice one. Let's say we do It's Raining Cats and Dogs.
Oh, no.
Step number 1, Ka. What are the 2 definitions of an idiom? One starts with an F, one starts with an L.
The figurative.
Good, and then the other one is?
The literal.
Nicely done. So our 2 definitions, we have figurative and we have literal. Schmuckles, what does figurative mean?
It means like what it's trying to get across, I guess.
The common.
Or no, that's the other
If
one.
only we'd written this stuff down that we could just look at and be right in
It's
front of us to make things easier.
It's the what we know it means.
Nicely done, Schmuckles. Well, we know the phrase to mean the common definition. If I were to tell you that there was a random kid coming into my class, hi, random kid. Welcome back. If I were to tell you that football practice is canceled this afternoon because it's raining cats and dogs, that is using an idiom. You can go ahead and just put pass over there. You're good to go. Welcome back. So, if I were to tell you football practice is canceled because it's raining cats and dogs, what is the figurative meaning? What do you know that to mean when I say? Now, hang on. Before you guys globetrotter out here, make me go all into your throat. Whenever you give either the figurative or literal, you cannot use any nouns or verbs from this. So you cannot use the words rain or cats or dogs or anything like that. Now you can use like a, and the, or you, and pronouns. But as far as like the other part, you can't be like, it just means it's like rain, right there. Just so you're that aware of the throat pain. Leroy.
It's porn.
Porn what? I know.
Water.
Nicely done, Leroy.
From the
I had faith in
sky.
you getting there. So, large drops of water are falling from the sky. You are correct. This is going to make you use your imagination and think. But that makes me hurt and get all twitchy. Well, then it'll be good and twitchy for you. Then we're going to get to the literal definition. Josh, what does literal definition mean? Yes.
The word for word definition.
Nicely. Use the nose. Good job. And so this is the word-for-word definition of the phrase. Usually it ends up making you giggle when you read it because you're like, giggle, giggle. Why would you be driving a vehicle up the side of a wall? And so here, if it says it is raining cats and dogs, and you were new to English on the football team, you're like, I'm not going outside. That sounds deadly. So what is it that means to us? Sharp?
Animals are falling from the sky
Not bad.
that are pets and are not anything else besides felines and canines.
A really in-depth and detailed explanation. Nate?
Canines and felines are falling from the upper atmosphere in the form of projectiles.
The joy of advanced classes. I just put felines and canines are dropping from the air.
I did it.
Kind of. You did a thing. I will give you that. A thing happened and you were involved. So it gives you an idea of how it's going to. We're filling out the notesy things on there to help you out. You can always cheat off this kid because she's on fire so far.
Am I really?
Oh, that's an example of an idiom saying that she's a Mr. Brovicast, put her out, put her out. I can't. She's so fuego, there's no putting her out. Look at that. Idiom. It's raining idiom. Oh my goodness, that's another idiom. It's all over the place. Wait, that's another idiom. This test is a piece of cake. In theory, when you guys leave class tomorrow and the 4th period kids come by, and they're like, how was that? That was a piece of cake. They're not going to go, he was giving you yummy things? Yes, he was. First off, Grifferton, what are the 2 definitions of idiom?
Figurative meaning and literal meaning.
Nicely done. Figurative and literal. Griffin, what does figurative mean?
It means what we know the phrase to mean.
Nicely done. What we know that phrase to mean. So if I were to say, or you were to say tomorrow, I mean, I think all my tests are a piece of cake, doesn't really count. But tomorrow that this test is a piece of cake, Griffey,
It means that it's really easy.
what is?
The assessment thing.
Was that ASL for assessment? Now, put it all together so we can read your ASL.
The assessment was really easy.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
I know. You did a thing too. There are things happening everywhere. I put this assessment is words. This assessment is extremely easy. Then, from there, Huddleston, what does literal mean? Go Huddles. The word for word, sometimes the funny one here, once again, cannot use test or piece.
Oh my
or
god, if
cake.
this fly doesn't.
This fly keeps touching me.
I know, it's like probably a little fruit fly that's been in here. I named him Bob. He's a
Why does he like me?
I keep killing all his friends, and apparently
Remember
he's
your
just a sad
friend of
guy.
science?
Drake!
Don't talk about Jeremy.
Your assessment is sweetbread.
Works for me. Nate?
I didn't realize.
This
You never told me this.
assessment is a frosted pastry.
Works for me again. Nicely done. You could also say, if you're busy working on your homework that you owe me right now, you should put it away so you can busy working on the stuff we're doing together right now.
Tea?
I put, this quiz is a tasty frosted dessert. Or for some of you, sweet bread. Sweet, sweet, tasty bread.
Oh my god, it's sweet.
And our last one we'll practice doing together here in a moment as I let some of you guys figure out. Now I'll make it disappear. I figure make you use your own imagination. It hurts. It's like exercise. And then we have... I tried to, now for our last one, I tried to find one that maybe not everyone knows. Because there are idioms that have been around for a long time. And there's a chance we're going to get to an idiom you've not heard of. If we get to an idiom you've not heard of, like you're barking up the wrong tree, you know,
It's just like you're back
not
at the
with
wrong.
shh. Well, first off, let's back up to that one. Susie, what are the two definitions of an idiom? Nicely done. Even if you have no idea, let's back up. How many of you guys have heard of this idiom before?
Some probably.
How many of you have never heard of this idiom before?
Don't
Don't let it attack me. Even if you've never heard of this idiom before, you can always do the literal meaning, which we'll come to in a moment. But if you do know it, what does it mean if you are barking up the wrong tree? DeLong? Can't use wrong.
Oh, you do the incorrect thing.
Works for me. I put you have made a mistake about this. It comes from the old idea of like a dog chasing a squirrel, and the squirrel runs up a tree, and the dog then chases the squirrel and starts barking up the tree, but the dog's barking up the wrong tree, the squirrel's not in, the squirrel's like, what's wrong with you, dog? And the dog's like, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you, and the squirrel just goes down the tree and is like, stupid dog and one. So it's the same idea. Like if I were to accuse you, like, I cannot believe that you were busy reading your book while I was teaching, I'm going to charge you points. Like, I was never reading. I was like, I was what? You're barking up the wrong tree, Mr. Brovicast, because it looks just like me. And so that's where you're saying that you've made a mistake about whatever it might be. Nate?
So the canine is sending auditory signals up the incorrect
Plant.
brown plant.
Not bad. I might not have been quite as verbose in mine. John?
You are yelling at a piece of wood.
Which piece of wood?
The brown one.
Incorrect.
Incorrect.
You have to hit, there you go. You have to make sure you hit all the parts in there. I put you are woofing up the incorrect tall bush. Not bad. You could say oxygen producer if you wanted to. Sure. Once again, the joys from advanced classes. Mr. Bogart, me no big words. So now we're going to do some practice ones where you don't have to write anything down. This is just going to be your brain, which is what makes it the scariest part of all. But hopefully if you have those parts written down, you can use them when it comes time for the quiz and the homework and the test and stuff like that. And when I ask you what are the two definitions, you go, I don't know. But we'll be like, oh, it's right in front of me. And we can try to help you out a little bit. So now I have an example of an idiom I'm pretty sure most of you have not heard of because it's one from a long time ago. It's when you call someone a silver-tongued devil. If you've heard it, go you. If you've not heard it, go me. I mean, there's ones that go way back there to like old people-y times. But no matter what, first step, what are our two definitions?
Literal and figurative.
Nicely done. So even if you've never heard this before, you can always figure out the literal definition. Because what's literal definition? Just the definition of literal.
The real, what you think it means.
The word for word definition, the funny one. So this is, if I were to say, I cannot believe Maul would say that, you silver-tongued devil. What am I saying about her when I call her a silver-tongued devil? In your own literal interpretation of what I'm saying to her. Emerton?
She is a precious metal.
Mouth appendage?
Mouth.
Esophagus finger.
A mouthed demon.
Thank you.
Mr. Mouth. By the way, nicely done living up to my funny definitions. You guys are like already going into giggle mode as soon as you start trying to do it. He is a demon with a mouth muscle that is very shiny.
He?
As long as, well, because I
Is that he?
It says he silver-tongued devils.
It is
It says
2008.
he up there.
Did you just assume my pronoun? Whoa! And figurative, when we get to that one, Owen, what does this figurative mean in general?
It means like what we know it should mean.
And their notes are handy, aren't they? The common definition of what we know the phrase to mean. If I were to once again call Maul or a male of some kind, if that makes you feel better with your gender pronouns, what is it I am saying when I say that, Smuckles?
That person is telling a lie or something bad you don't want to hear.
Close but not quite. More so than just a lie, but you're on the right track. You did get the devilly bits in there. Griffin?
They said something mean or evil.
No, but a good guess again. You guys definitely like the meanness you're going for. John?
She's cursing.
No. That does sound like her though. Maul?
Yeah. Is it like somebody like seems really good in front of one piece of person, but they're actually like a devil?
Closer.
They're stupid.
It's when you're good at convincing people to do things. When you're a smooth, like when you're like, you should sneak out. Like, no, I can't sneak out. Oh, come on, everyone's doing it. You won't get in trouble. Your parents won't know. No one likes. You should come join me. It's gonna be so much. And so that's when you're that silver tongue.
Sounds like peer
If you
pressure.
can imagine like the little devil and the little angel right there, the one that's there is like, you can get away with it. No one will catch you. It'll be okay. That's the silver tongue devil that's sitting there. So if you're that person that's good at talking people into doing things they shouldn't do, that's the silver tongue devil part. Alright. We're going to have to skip this one for now, just time-wise. I did cat got your tongue.
Yo.
So, for the literal meaning of cat got your tongue, you can't use cat.
A feline has grabbed.
Feline has.
Attack unable to say
On this one, what I can show you is a lot of times comic strips, if you've seen like the outside of my door that's covered in them, I have a whole section for idioms. They oftentimes will like doing comic strips based on idioms because they make you all giggly. And so I found one for cat got your tongue. And so I was like, oh, it's adorable. And I went for, you need to hold your horses. We were two definitions. What is the figurative meaning of hold your horses? There you go. Slow down before you do something too quickly. Now, this one's a little tougher because you have to figure out how to not... Ooh, the fly's over here. Hi, Bob. Over here next to me right now. You cannot use the word horses, and that's what makes it a little bit tougher. Reynolds?
The thing that goes in A is something you should be.
Works for me. I put donkey creatures, but sure.
how large dogs with
And
males.
then once again, I have found little comics that go along with these two, where it says, whoa, boys, maybe we need to rethink this. So he's over here holding on to his horses before they run over there to jump onto the jumbo twins. And then I found another one that made me smile, which was just a guy holding horses. So I was like, oh, that's adorable.
Wait, aren't
Karen.
So now, I have a number of visual idioms, and I'm going to see if you can figure out which idiom this is supposed to be just from the picture.
Can we say that loud?
Us?
Aren't idioms like usually like I guess like Southern people they go like you're as like whatever.
They can be. Southern people tend to use them quite a bit. Our first one? Nice one. Broken-hearted. And?
Rock, paper cut.
Paper cut. So that is your idiom there.
Don't cry for spilled milk.
So they're not making a big deal of a small thing. Don't cry over spilled milk. Come back. There we go. This one's a little tougher because if it deals with like copiers and printers and stuff like that.
Oh, paper jam.
Nicely done. When you get together with music, it's called a jam session. It's a paper jam.
Musical paper.
I think they could have gone with like jelly kind of thing, but I didn't know.
Oh, we killed him! We killed Bob!
Poor Bob. We just wanted to
Fix it.
You killed Bob!
focus.
Selfie stick.
Selfie stick.
That's so cute.
See, it's an adorable little selfie stick.
I don't get it. What was it?
Selfie stick.
Karen.
Rocking chair.
Rocking chair.
Nice.
They're all like Karen.
It is. They have a website that this guy did.
Karen.
Yo!
Firewall. Don't play with fire.
Don't play fire.
Don't play with fire. Although firewall could work. Don't
play with
stuff like that.
Killer
Now,
donuts.
these are not donuts.
Bagels.
Those are Cheerios.
What are you?
Serial killer.
Serial killer.
I said don't. Yeah, don't. Yes.
That's on your video.
I love that film.
How? Oh, because the apples fall from the bullet.
Those were not apples. So if he's saying daddy up to there, what
Daddy,
does that make him?
baby
Apple
bullet.
doesn't fall from the
Baby piston.
The bullet
Son.
doesn't fall far from the
Son of a gun.
Son of a gun. See,
Lol.
try to expand the brain a little bit on that one.
What's that? Not know how to
Mr. Stuff just gave you a present.
So here's what you're going to do.
An evil demon person.
Corn.
Turn your paper over to the other side.
No, I'll buy Brovie corn because
Borrow
that's
yours
too
for a
hard.
second.
It's kind of hard.
So now we're looking at this side of our paper. You are going to find an idiom that you want to do that we have not done today as an example. So here's one that says, don't let the cat out of the bag. Give you an example that you could not do because I'm doing it up here. Once you have written down your idiom, as you see on your paper, you are then going to have to figure out both the figurative and literal definitions of yours. Of don't let the cat out of the bag, the figurative, you know what the figurative is of that?
Yes, it's like keep your secret to yourself.
There you go. So you're going to write down where it says don't tell the secret, and then you're just going to draw a picture that represents what's going on in that one. Then you have to come up with the literal definition. Doyle?
Don't let the feline out of the holding container.
Not bad. They put don't let the feline escape from the sack, but same idea. And you're going to have to draw a picture that goes along with that. Your picture, once again, I'm not grading you on your skills, so you can use stick figures as long as you put clothing on them. It's more, can you fill that entire box with a scene of stuff going on? That's what I'm looking for from you.
box?
I can.
Wait, do we have to color?
That's a good question. Let's put directions right in front of you.
Oh, I was gonna.
Oh my goodness.
So you have I'm in a pickle. What is the figurative of I'm in a pickle?
I am a
All about
You're inside a pickle costume.
You're in a jam.
You're in a bad situation. Or I'm in trouble.
Oh
So
my
here they're in, and I'm in a pickle because
color
the house is on fire. The literal definition,
You're inside of a
You're
sweet majestic. That is pretty cucumber.
one of your issues you're going to have is when the direction says in big capital letters, everything has to be complete sentences. So if you just write down inside a cucumber, that's not a complete sentence, it's going to cost you points. So make sure you write complete sentences for it. So there's that I'm stuck in a salty soaked cucumber. So you're going to do idiom, figurative definition, literal definition, and then a picture that goes along with both. If you want to write down the due date is next Wednesday, the 14th. So I'm trying to give you some time to get it done. So it's not due until Wednesday the 14th. Unless, of course, you email me and ask me. In that case, it's going to be due tomorrow. We'll knock them dead for now.
9 out of 10.
Because, on this one, the literal, they lost points. You know why?
Kill someone by punch. It's not a full sentence.
Not a full sentence. You have to write a complete sentence. They did not, even though their artwork is great. It's that whole directions following thing again that they do every time. So that's why it dropped them down to the 9 out of 10. Petty clowns. Once again, they did have it in your... On my website, I have example idioms. You don't have to use my idioms. You're welcome to use your own idioms. Away, child. Just make sure you do not use an idiom that we have already done, and you cannot create your own idiom. Idioms, by definition, have to be a phrase that everyone knows. So you can't just come up with, spin your nose hairs. That's not an idiom. That's you being strange.
That's my favorite idiom ever.
Now you can take off.